What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Scevoli Tano show, guys. I know. I'm back. I know you guys miss me sometimes. I miss myself sometimes, and I'm here with you. I get off the air and I miss myself, and I come on the air and I miss myself even more. But I'm talking to myself. But not today. I have a very special Mandalorian guest. Well, he's right there. We call him Clan Brandolorian. I don't know why. I think he thinks his name is Brandon and then Pedro Pascual. Sorry, guys. He's not Pedro. He couldn't do the show. But Clan Brandolorian. I know I'm going to say that and butcher that name so bad. I am so sorry. I apologize. I don't know. I'm under the weather too, so I don't. I'll just call you Clan or Brandon. But welcome, Brandon, to the Scevoli Tano Tonight Show.
Yes, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for getting me on, bro. I mean, we are new followers. It seems to be on Instagram, and I've checked out your channel and some of the guests that you've had on, and it seems like we have some mutual friends, mutual interests. So, yeah, man, this should be a good ride. Thanks for having me on.
I hate them all. Just so you know. I didn't like anybody that was on this show. I'm so sorry, everybody that was on the show. I'm so sorry. No, everybody I had on this show is fantastic. Like, they all bring, something different to tonight's show. Everybody brings their own pizzazz, their own spice. Let's see what the Mandalorian brings today, guys. Let's see what he brings today. Let's see if he'll chop my head off or use a dark saber, or you never know. He might jump through the screen. You never know.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, no idea. But before we start the tonight's show, please subscribe down below to the YouTube channel, the Scevoli Tano Show, guys. Just for more awesomeness. And me, not Brandon. Brandon won't be here all the time, but today's his show. Today's his day to shine. And maybe we'll have him back, because I don't like having people back at my show. I hate people, so I don't know why he's here. But here we go. And Brandon's like, this kid's out of his mind. But who cares?
Hey, he warned me before.
I did. But Brandon, my friend, how are you? How is everything? How are you doing on this Bad Batch Wednesday? I know we got the episode. We could talk about it if you want, or we could save that for later. Whatever you want. I thought the episode was good.
Yeah, dude. I think, I recorded my little breakdown review video earlier. And, dude, I think it's just so dope that we're getting Fennec Shand back. I think that she's just one of the better characters of the Mandoverse, in my opinion. I love that we're getting new bounty hunters in. It's not like Dengar, IG-88, Zuckuss, people like that. Those are like the bounty hunters we're used to. And obviously you can't leave out Boba Fett. That is the bad bounty hunter. But alongside of him, we get Fennec Shand, and she's back, man. She's back.
Now I want to ask you this, because we in the book of Boba Fett, we see Fennec Shand and Boba Fett working together. So do you think we'll see a younger Boba Fett? We only have a couple episodes. We're halfway through the Bad Batch season. But do you think we'll see a younger Boba Fett with Fennec Shand? Because if we do, I think it would mess up the book of Boba Fett kind of timeline a little, because then they don't really know each other. They didn't know each other, but now they sort of did. It's so weird, because even with Cad Bane showing up in Book of Boba, Fennec Shand knew Cad Bane, and it wasn't really played out like that. It's hi, how are you? It was just okay, we're just here. Okay, let's do that. So do you think we'll see that in the Bad Batch, or you don't think we'll see that at all, or we'll see that or we'll just see that play out somewhere else in the Star Wars universe?
I mean, it could play out. You also do have to put into note that, there's 20 years, and it feels like in 20 years in the Star Wars timeline is an infinity. So, but yeah, I can't remember who I was telling this to before, but I think the night Boba Fett took in Fennec to get repaired by the modifier, I think that was a really cool connection, because when he told Fennec that he was Boba Fett, she's like, he's dead. And maybe if we see Boba in the Bad Batch and they run into each other, he has his armor on. She doesn't know Boba outside of the armor, because I'm going to assume that he's, sticking to Jango Fett and what he was with the Mandalorians, keeping his armor on. Maybe we see that he takes his armor off in Attack of the Clones, but he's a bounty hunter at that time. So maybe Boba tries to keep his identity hidden and wants to be known as the guy in the armor with the helmet on. So maybe Boba because Boba Fett already knew who Fennec was. You know, he's like, you are Fennec Shand, master assassin of the Mid-Rim. So I mean, it's like, oh, okay, so he has some background. Maybe Fennec is just like, oh, this is Boba Fett, but this is him outside the costume. But it doesn't help that he's in Tusken uniform as well. So she's probably like, who's this dude? You know, so
who's this bull-headed guy that I worked with back in like 20 years ago? Who is this guy?
Right. But yeah, dude, I think there's a lot of connections that we can get, you know, even with the just to throw it out there, like the Acolyte. We see how like some of the imagery, it looks just like it's taken out of the sequel trilogy. And this has taken place 100 years before Phantom Menace even. So there's some years here. But I mean, even just like we were talking about just, you know, a minute ago, I mean, the universe in Star Wars definitely stretches for a long time, and you can definitely feel how long time is in Star Wars.
It is like you go from 1 year and then you feel like, how did we go from like a year to like 5 years? Like, weren't we just like 1 year ago last episode? Now it's like 5 years this episode.
Right.
But with the Acolyte, how did you like the trailer to the Acolyte? Because I felt like it was really good. Like it's something new. I know I saw a lot of people's reviews on it, and like their concerns, and people just didn't even give it a chance. They're like, no. You know, they were just like jumping to hate it. And I even said in my breakdown or the reaction video, like, give it a chance. Like, I'll be the first to say I'm not the biggest live action fan. I am not. I'm always gonna be team animation. Like I said to you before the show, I'm always biased. So you can't really ask me. But what did you really think of the Acolyte trailer? Because I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I think the imagery looks great. The cinematography is obviously killer, and I was on Seriously Star Wars last night for a live stream reacting to the Acolyte trailer, and we figured out that it's actually a composer that worked with Jordan Peele for like Nope, Get Out, and all of those films. So you hear that grungy, deep bass, like horror music. So when you listen to the Acolyte again, you're like, oh, this is, you know, supposed to be a scarier time. And obviously with the Sith kind of being the main point of view, getting that kind of music and those scores in there, like, I think that's just what's going to make up for the show. I do think it's going to be as a slow burn, kind of like the Andor series. And I'm up, you know, with Andor. I thought it was a good storytelling show, but it's just, you know, not Jedi and stormtroopers that we're used to. But I mean, it's just a different point of view, and I think that's what the Acolyte's going to be. I of course have my wishes and my don'ts for it. But yeah, I think just off of a minute and a half of a trailer, I think it's going to be killer.
And I don't think we got a lot in that trailer. I don't know if you can agree with me on that. It didn't feel like a lot in that trailer. It felt like you took pieces of one episode and just like flipped them around and threw it at us. I really didn't see much in that trailer to like. You really can't see much. You can see there's Jedi, and then at the end, the Sith are coming. One Sith is coming, and kaboom! All the Jedi flew back. You know, that's probably the end episode. I think I could say that's like the 8th episode. I think that would be happening, or the 6th or 7th. I don't think they would. Maybe the Sith in the beginning and see how the other High Republic Jedis fell or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would do it. I don't know if they're going to end it off in the book, the High Republic book, because we have so many High Republic Jedis that are still alive in that time. You know, like Avar Kriss, Stelio Gios. Who else is a good one? Who? She's my favorite. And I can't even remember her name. Like, she's my favorite one out of all of them, and I can't remember her name, but I'll probably remember her name during this interview. But do you think, now everybody was saying we saw a little piece of Plo Koon. Do you think that is Plo Koon?
Whether, I mean, it could not even be a Keldor. I mean, it's just maybe the angle, it looks just about right. But I mean, if it's Plo Koon, I'm here for it. If it's not, I feel like it's still going to be a significant character. But I mean, Plo Koon, you know, I have some friends in the Star Wars fandom that are like, you know, this is my favorite Jedi, like my side Jedi. But like you are a fan of animation, I feel like Plo Koon's character gets so much more love for how he was, brought back and given a bigger role during the Clone Wars, and especially in animation. Like, I think he looks better animated than in live action, in my opinion. He does look badass. He's cool. But at the same time, I just feel like when you give us a character and you give more of a backstory and more of a obsession to their motive, especially Plo Koon with the Jedi Order, I think that was a really good time to see him thriving during, a war, basically. And I feel like he played a vital part during the Clone Wars. But man, if we get him in the Acolyte, he's going to be maybe around like 150 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, the younger the better in Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? We definitely want to see a younger Yoda. Maybe even though it's 150 years or 100 years, but I mean, still, getting Yoda at a younger age, he's still probably maturing just a little bit. He's been an adult, quote unquote, for a very, very long time. But at the same time, I feel like we can dive deeper into, maybe Yoda, if at the end they have to sweep all this under the rug,
I think that's what they do. I really think, it's like when you go to the principal's office and you go to the principal and you are bad, and we're not gonna call your mom. If you do it again, we're gonna sweep it under the rug. It's sort of things like that. Like, that's why the Jedi get in trouble. That's why the Jedi are clouded. Their vision is clouded. They can't really make sense of things because they're pushing everything under the rug, or they're seeing it in their eyes, but they're not believing it. And that goes back to whatever we got in the Clone Wars, with Yoda and that arc. In
right.
Season 6, we got that arc. He saw plain and simple that the Jedi Order was going to fall, and he let it simply happen. Like, you see it in front of your eyes, but I'm not going to believe that. But how are you not going to believe that? And there's an evil, the Sith have returned. They have returned for a long time. You've seen it in the High Republic era. He's around that time. He's in the comics, he's in the books. He's probably going to be in this series, probably not maybe in the first season. I don't know who they're going to put in the first season. We already saw one High Republic Jedi. But I don't know if they're going to put any more. Probably season 2, she's Leslie said. But Yoda is, to me, Yoda is the smart Jedi. He really is. He's a smart Jedi, but in his mind somewhere, he thinks everything will be okay.
Right.
Okay, one story happens, another will begin. What Balin said in Ahsoka, you need chaos, and then chaos takes over, and then it's reborn again. It's like a pattern. It's like, okay, right. The Jedi rule. Okay, then the Sith take over. Screw the Jedi are gone, and then back to the Jedi. And then back to the Sith, and then it's like a pattern over and over again. Where I feel like Balin's pretty smart guy, he understands it. He understands that better than Yoda did. But what happens if it wasn't like that?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What happens if it wasn't? You can't redo your life. If we're in the Clone Wars, me and you, Brandon, and we both died, you lost 2 great Jedi right there. You know what I mean? And then you're going, oh, well, they were great Jedi. They were the best. We cried for them. But you could have did something. All those Jedi that got executed by Order 66, you could have prevented that. You had the chips. Kevin Owens planted chips in the clone's head, but brushed that under the rug. How do you brush something that deep under the rug and not question that again? You know what I mean? Even Shakti, watching that arc, watching for a viewer's standpoint. When I first watched it, I was like, huh? How does that make sense? And I'm like, the chip, it's in their heads. They're going to shoot us. They're going to kill us, And you watch the episodes and you get so mad at the episodes because, why didn't you just run and tell somebody? Or
just
wouldn't
say something.
Say something.
It's that part, especially in the Clone Wars. I watched it for the first time right before the Mandalorian came out. So this is 2019, and I'm finally getting into Clone Wars because there's a couple years after the after Solo came out, and The Last Jedi I didn't rewatch anything for a while. And then once I started getting back into Star Wars, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to watch Clone Wars. So, I'm sitting there like, dude, like everything that happened in episode 3 could have easily been prevented. Yoda has his art, Shakti has her art, and then, Fives and like Chancellor Palpatine kind of like toying with Fives, like right before like he could have like snitched on him. And it's just like, dude, like, for an animation series, and I feel like maybe you've heard this before, from a casual fan or anything, but it's like people can't get into the Star Wars animation. I mean, I get that. That's cool. I get that. But if you were to sit and watch these 15, 20, 25-minute episodes, you will know so much more lore and so much reasoning to like why Anakin acted the way he did in episode 3, why Obi-Wan acted the way, why General Grievous is like, oh, I'm not worried about nothing, because in the Clone Wars he wiped everyone out. And so you're like, wait, why is this robot dude out of nowhere just kind of like this cocky? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, now I know, because I seen how he went to Dathomir and just caused havoc. You know what I'm saying? So, man, it's I don't know, man. I feel like the animation shows and like they're hidden gems, and you understand that everything could have been prevented. So now if you look back at Yoda, for instance, when he loses to Sidious, and right before he calls Bail Organa, he's like in the tunnel chute, and he's kind of like panting, like, hurry, like we got to get out of here. And it's like, I feel like that is where he understands like the strength of numbers. It's over. Like he knows all the Jedi are gone. He has no backup. Everything that he kept, a secret, it all came back. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, I mean, and sometimes stuff like that, it goes to our everyday lives even, you don't want to keep stuff in. You want to let people know, like things can be easily prevented if you just kind of speak up every now and again. But, it's trial and error, man. And he messed up. He
messed up big time. And I think like going back to connecting with Star Wars, I feel like as fans, we connect to these characters. We 100%. Connect. We see themselves in us, like what we would do in our everyday life. Because in reality, they're all human, Mm-hmm. And I talked about this on the show with my other guests, that like Crosshair's like redemption. Like Crosshair's a big character that you could say that about, because look where he came from, season 1, even in the Clone Wars, you could say. Clone Wars, Crosshair, Bad Batch, Crosshair, season 1, season 2, Crosshair, and now you get season 3, Crosshair, and you see that change. You see that development with Crosshair. Okay, he doesn't have the chip no more. The chip melted or whatever when he got burned on the side of his head. Yeah. And his redemption arc. Now Crosshair is beginning to be one of my favorite Bad Batchers. Dude. Because of his story. And see, we all go through that in life. We all go through that ups and downs, and we try to find the balance between how to do it right again and how not to do it wrong again. But do we fail sometimes? Absolutely. I'm not going to say we're all perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody here is watching the show is perfect. You try to be perfect, then there's something happening. There's something wrong. Right. And I think with Crosshair, he tried to be that perfect sharpshooter. He could shoot. He's not missing. Like a Fennec Shand kind of, because Fennec Shand would always say that. Like, she's a one-shot girl. Yeah. Like, she's going to shoot you and you're going to die. Like, that's it. And you looked at Crosshair in the male form, and look at him, now his hand, I feel like, and we watched that episode, to me, he gets nervous.
Yep.
Or it's all in his head. Like, oh, I'm not going to be able to shoot that. Like, how am I going to defend Omega? Like when Hunter said, it's me, Wrecker, and you're going to stay here with Crosshair. And Crosshair's hands started trickling, like tickling. Yeah. And it's like, is he going to be capable to protect Omega? Because that's who they're coming after. Is that redemption arc going to be a faithful one? Meaning, will he sacrifice himself for Omega? Which I hope not. I really hope like everybody survives and they live on a happy planet. And that's what I want for all the Bad Batch, because I don't think no one deserves to die like at the end of the season. I think they can maybe go their separate ways, or what they want different lives. Like Hunter wants to live out this way, Wrecker wants to live out that way, Crosshair lives with that way, Omega lives that way, Echo lives with that way. And then we see them maybe in another animation or even live action, but I wouldn't put them live action. To me, the Bad Batch, you really you really can't put them back. To me, that would look so wrong with that. Terminator Morrison play all the Bad Batch, like that would look wrong in my opinion. I wouldn't like that. But yeah, like Crosshair to me is that character where he's good and then he's bad. He's good. Now, will he turn bad again? Probably not, because I think he learned. I hope he's not like, because everybody's saying like, oh, he might be a spy. Like that episode we saw with the Rex and Hauser. Like, oh, he knows and stuff like that. So people got a little worried. Will he turn on the Bad Batch? But I don't think he will. I think he's really invested in Omega, even Batcher. Like, who doesn't love Batcher? That's like, I want that animal. Like, I need him in my life, But yeah, I think he is that character where he done his wrongs. Now we forgive him.
Yeah.
Now, and this is his redemption. And now everybody loves him. I don't know, like me, I love him now. He's like he's probably my favorite Bad Batcher, But yeah, I don't know if you can agree with me on that, but just spitting.
Yeah, dude. Everything you said there, I think is really, really good. And it's, who would have expected Crosshair to have such a predominant role this season in a positive way?
Yeah.
Me, especially going into this third season, I'm thinking, maybe he'll come back right at the end. Maybe he'll have like a Darth Vader redemption, like at the last second, but taps in halfway, half out. But man, I just don't think it's going to be, good days, towards the end. I don't want it to be that way. But, when the Bad Batch, so the Bad Batch episode in Clone Wars, I'm like, man, this group is tight. Like they got to have some sort of book, background, something that, you can get some insight on. So then they get their own show and I'm like, oh man, and they're dropping it on May 4th, the first season. So I'm like, oh, okay. So this can be really interesting. And I'm a Hunter guy, I think
I love Hunter too.
I think he's just a copycat of Rambo,
Yeah.
So I'm just like, dude, this is dope. But yeah, I'm like, man, love this, getting the Bad Batch Marauder Lego set. I'm like, oh, dude, the minifigs are sick. And I actually just finally picked up Echo, Tech, and Wrecker Funko Pops. I still need to get Crosshair and Hunter. But yeah, dude, I go in and out of loving all these characters. I start loving Tech even more, and then he dies.
I know.
Hunter is just kind of, he's there, but he's kind of a side character after season 1, in my opinion. So I'm like, he's not really. And then you got to love the Abomination from Wrecker. But I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, like Crosshair has this like swag to him to where it's like, he doesn't have to be a bad dude.
No.
And he's starting to realize that. And I like how the droid, I forget their
AZ.
AZ, yes. I think it's crazy how AZ is just like, it might just, be mental, it's like, in your head. So obviously they're thinking chip again, like what, is there something else, but I think he's just coming to terms with who he is. And instead of living up to that defective persona, like they don't have to be defective. The only reason they're defective is actually a positive thing. It's a good thing. Yeah. And of course he tapped in and out of it, but like Crosshair, man, like I feel like when it's all said and done, he's going to be my favorite clone. I mean, Cody is my favorite clone, but I don't know, dude, Crosshair might just take the lead at the end. So I don't know, man. I'm just really liking what we're having right now because I still feel like in these last few episodes, we can get some serious debates and of this being the best Star Wars animated series. Is it slow? A little bit, but if you really dissect these episodes and watch some other YouTubers breakdowns and get all these heads, throwing out ideas, you start to realize like, dude, this show is no joke whatsoever. No,
because it ties into all the other shows. Like, what is so special. And I always said this on my show. Omega is force sensitive. I always said that in the beginning because you're not going to put a character on her screen, have a theme for her.
Yeah.
First episode have a theme. Anakin didn't even Obi-Wan didn't even have a theme until his show came out.
Yeah.
He's a pivotal character in Star Wars. So looking back at Omega, my daughter, she's my daughter. I got a shot. She's always there. She's at school right now. I know it's like 8:00, but she goes to aftercare. Don't hate people. I leave my kids at school so they can learn. Maybe you guys should do it out there. I'm talking to you people. Yeah, I'm talking to you, not Brandon. I'm talking to you people. But yeah, I get a little. Don't come for me as a parent, right, Brandon? Right, Chris? He knows.
Hey.
Brandon knows. But with Omega, like I always said, she was force sensitive. I always said that, and now we are getting to that point. It took 3 seasons to say to us, "Oh, the M count," and the only person that would know about the M count, to me, at the end of that episode, the Fennec Shan episode, is Azaz Ventress.
Yes.
But what does Ventress play a role in it, though? Dude. You know what I mean? Like, what is her role? Because, like, I don't know if you've seen it, but Nika Fetterman did an interview, and she said this is only the appetizer. You're gonna have a feast with what's to come with Azaz. So, and Azaz became, watching her story, reading the Dark Disciple book, just knowing her, she's one of my favorite Sith. Like, she could be my ultimate favorite Sith, because of how Dooku treated her. How she was going to be powerful. She was going to beat Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to probably overthrow Dooku eventually because she just was getting powerful, stronger in the Force and stuff like that. And then, guess what? Abandonment, and she turns semi-good. Like, I could say semi-good. She might not be completely there. But we're definitely going to get a different Azaz Ventress that we saw in season 5. Yeah, season 5, the last time we saw her. And now different Azaz in season 3 of The Bad Batch.
Yeah, I have this feeling that she is not necessarily bounty hunting, but I feel like she is kind of a middleman at this point. She survived Dark Disciple. We see that. And if, most people out there know me, I'm a huge Quinlan Vos fan. I try not to talk about it too much because I'm just praying this dude pops up and I'm like, see, I told all
I
y'all.
know. I see your post. I'm like, he might, like, I that would be great if he really showed up, because it would make sense if they're going to do another Star Wars show, animation show. I talked about this on the show a lot. The Path.
Yes. An
animation show about the Path. And no way, we know Quinlan was through the Path. It says in Obi-Wan, Quinlan went through here? Like, Quinlan falls. So it would make sense for him to show up back in animation. And I would love it, because I love Quinlan Vos. I love Quinlan Vos. He might not be my favorite character, but his story is so unique in how he can tell. He's like, he just puts his hands to the floor and can tell. Like, that's why I think he survived Order 66. He was just like Hunter. He knew what was coming before that. He could feel it happening as it's going through the world, the galaxy, and he felt that, and that's how he survived. Or maybe he was off with his Azaz Ventress. We really don't know how they survived Order 66. Everything changes in Star Wars. So I really think, like, I'm on board with Quinlan coming back to the show and giving more story to him, because there's really no comics on Quinlan and Azaz. There's only a book, The Dark Disciple, and what happens at the end of The Dark Disciple? She dies, but she's supposedly alive. Count Dooku didn't kill her, and I'm glad that wasn't the ending that the fans, because the fans didn't want that. She died in the book. Really, come on, Shakti died like 8 times on screen, and we still didn't get a confirmation of her death.
Right.
So I'm totally on board with you, Brandon, with Quinlan Vos coming back.
See, and I like I was kind of touching with Quinlan, like, that's one of my guys. Like, I want him to be there, but I feel like Azaz Ventress is the middleman. Like I was saying, I feel like she's gonna, run into these bounty hunters and is giving them one step more than the other. So maybe she could be getting paid more to kind of thrive off of their earnings. So I think with her being in contact with Fennec, if that's the case, if that is who she calmed in at the end, this could be cool, because imagine this dynamic between Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos. You know, you see him in Dark Disciple. They have, you know, a romance. They want to take down Dooku. Quinlan falls to the dark side. Quinlan gets out of it, you know, and all the things that they both had to do to overcome Dooku and get an advantage, but obviously didn't work out. But you put Asajj Ventress's background in the Jedi arts, in the Sith arts, and in Night Sister magic. Like, that's one hell of a combo in one person. But then you add Quinlan Voss's maverick-like instincts, his Jedi arts, and his retrocognition, and understanding, you know, things through force touch and seeing a story. Like just those 6 traits alone from them two, that is Rick and Michonne of The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And I feel like with this dynamic, it would be a missed opportunity. And I'm not just saying that because I love Asajj Ventress, I love Quinlan Vos, but we have a book that most Star Wars fans have read, and I'm not a huge reader. Like the High Republic, I don't know too much about it, so the Acolyte is going to be really, really cool for me. But Dark Disciple is the only book I've read, so now I'm truly invested. Like, what can they do? So with Bad Batch and being over, what other animations do we see? You know, just Tales of the Jedi. That's it. You know, and it's only 15-minute episodes. I feel like the next animation is going to be either, you know, The Path or whatever entails for a title for that. But this is where we get a feast for Asajj Ventress, working alongside Quinlan Vos, getting these kids here. Maybe Omega is the first child to go through the path. I think that this only sets up more to understand how strong the Empire was. You know, we see that in Bad Batch now. But we get to see a whole nother light because they have to be quiet. They have to be, it's just like, you know, the Underground Railroad that we had in real life. You know, that all had to be low key. And the feast, imagine Inquisitors maybe that stumble across Asajj and Quinlan smuggling these kids. Imagine all the bounty hunters that Asajj Ventress and Quinlan could just be messing up, you know, left and right, and getting captured, losing kids. Like, what, there has to be a struggle, you know, if this is going to be a, you know, a show. But like, damn, dude, this could be a huge project.
It would really be, even if you do a limited series, you know, even if you do a limited 15, just say 10 episodes. I could say 10 episodes. A limited 10 episodes of that. Because you always have to say who started the path. You know, because we see that 15 years later with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You know, we see it mentioned. And in Star Wars, to me, like, even the World Between Worlds, we didn't even get until, we still don't really get that World Between Worlds kind of, like, we really don't understand it that well. We only saw it in Rebels and then, of course, in Ahsoka. But we still didn't see, like, how do you get in it? Who can be in it? You know, right. Like, you hear all these voices, but okay, some voices are not force sensitive. You know, so it's like a world between times and space and galaxies and stuff like that. You know, and even with the path, you go back to the path, it's like you said, an Underground Railroad. You know, It's like, okay, how can we smuggle these kids off? Like, where's Gunji? You know, what happened with Gunji? You know, and he's mentioned in this previous episode, which I love, because it gets you to think, okay, can Omega be force sensitive? You know, she's learning from these people how to meditate. Like, she's learning. Because just like with Grogu, he's learning to be a Mandalorian. Just like, and he's learning to be a Jedi. Kind of, sort of, whatever. I don't know what they're doing with Grogu. I don't know what they went off the track with him. But going back to the path, I think it would open up so many levels of, okay, and then we get Rex involved, you know, because Rex is a big part of that. You know, he wants to smuggle, but first he has to deal with the uproar of all the clones. You know, he wants to free his brothers. But then, you know, what happens after that? You know, the path is still going on. You know, like, even with the Rebels, we see Kanan and Ezra save a couple force sensitive babies. Where do they go? You know, where do those babies go if they're force sensitive? You know, they don't have a Jedi Council no more. They don't have that. So where are they keeping these children that are Force sensitive. You
Right.
know, where are they keeping them? What planet? Or like Bail Organa is involved. We know Bail Organa is involved. You know, we know Senator Tucci is somewhat involved, as we could see in the previous couple episodes that we've seen. You know, what's to come? You know, that's the biggest thing for me. Like, it has to make sense. You know, you can't just give us something and be like, bye.
Yeah,
And
right.
2 years later down the road, you give it to us. No, give it to us now so we can understand what's going on at this time. We want to see the struggles of Azad's Ventress. We want to see Quinlan and her relationship. We really do, because we only get that in the book, but we want to get how Azad's Ventress changed. You know, because we see her as this mercenary. We see her as this evil, misunderstood being, you know? And then she falls in love. And then she's totally changed. I haven't read the book. I think I've read a couple pages, but not. I have to read the book to understand it more. And I want to read it. But how she changed her life for Quinlan and sacrificed herself for him, you know?
Yeah.
And how did he feel after that? You know, how did he move on with his life after that? Because he was still alive. You know, where is he in Obi-Wan Kenobi? Where is he in Rebels? You know,
Right.
where like, that's the biggest thing for me, is like, where are all these Jedi that were mentioned that survived, but where are they hiding? You know, what are their stories? And that's, to me, the biggest thing in Star Wars for me, is like, where are all these Jedi that hid? All these Jedi are not dead, you know? They're not. So
Yeah.
where are they? And what are their stories? And I feel like we should get different kind of stories coming up in the Tales. It might be a Saz and Quinlan show
That'd be so tight.
with Tales of the Jedi. Like, that might be more, that we might get more of a story with those kind of characters. 6 episodes, 3 Asajj, 3 Quinlan. You
That'd
know,
be tight.
that would be awesome. And see how Quinlan survived Order 66. Start from that point, and then work his way. Because I know Asajj and Quinlan, like you said, are gonna encounter Inquisitors. You know, the Inquisitors are gonna know Asajj Ventress is alive. You know, they're gonna know Quinlan Voss, the Jedi Master, is alive. You know, Ahsoka Tano is alive. You know, so Obi-Wan was confirmed dead, but we all know he lived. But other Jedi too, like all the younglings, like what happened to all the younglings? I know Anakin didn't kill them all. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing. I want to see like a Path show, and I think we should get that. Or I was thinking maybe a Rex animated series, but I would have both.
Yeah, I mean, we could even take a step off of, you know, the whole Jedi thing. People in the Star Wars fandom have always wanted like a clones only show.
I did.
And I think that would be amazing. I'd never understood the hype of Captain Rex until I watched Clone Wars. This is 2019, bro. From like the year I graduated high school to 2019. So those 4 years, I'm sitting there like, bro, like all my homies and friends that are just like, dude, like Clone Wars is, you know, the stuff, bro. You gotta watch. I'm like, dude, I'm not watching that. And like I said earlier, bro, when I watched those arcs, you know, from 5s to the Shock T's to the Yodas, like, dude, the storytelling is immaculate. And you know Dave Filoni is not gonna let no Clone Wars or clone focused series flop. No way. It's just like it's I feel like Rex and the clones, especially of, you know, the 501st into the 332nd. I mean, all of those, you know, surround Ahsoka. Those are like, you know, Ahsoka's left and right hand mans. Like those are all everything to Ahsoka, especially during that time. So Filoni's gonna absolutely cook up a feast with a clones show. Like just it can't miss. And I mean, give Rex, show that accelerated aging. You know, if we're gonna go after the Bad Batch and like all that time leading up to Rebels, I mean, God, dude, he looks like he's like a 65-year-old man, you know, who hasn't like bathed in like years, you know, like in Rebels. Like that's really cool how they show the acceleration of the clones aging. And I think that's something else, going back to the Bad Batch, that makes me even more sad. You know, like Crosshair, Hunter, you know, the rest of the 99 group, they're, you know, younger than Omega, but they're much older, you know?
Yeah.
It's like Benjamin Button, but the other way. So
Yeah, they
it's just
start off
like,
from 100, and he goes back to it. He dies at a baby.
yeah, and it's like, dude, like that makes it even more sad, especially if you're one looking at the Bad Batch. Like, yeah, they're not making it, no chance. Like, but Omega has to make it. She has to.
Yeah, she has to. I think, and that's why I think it makes more sense than what you just said earlier, like Azad's Ventress taking her.
Right.
Like, okay, I can train you. Maybe she trains her. We never know really what happens to Omega because she's not mentioned in any live action. And I don't think, and I don't say this to be rude to anybody watching the show, I don't think the Bad Batch, like I said, the Bad Batch shouldn't go live action. I'm sorry. It would look terrible. To me, it would look so terrible. Even with Omega going live action, you can't really fit her description. You can only really get a Millie Bobby Brown to do it. She would maybe be the perfect fit for that character, but you would lose the accent and stuff like that, and someone else said like maybe a live action Azad's Ventress show, and that would be cool, but you would have to keep the voice.
Right.
You can't.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I was thinking out loud for a second.
But you would have to keep the voice. You would have to keep Azad Ventress' voice because that's what makes Azad Ventress. Just like Thrawn. Thrawn's voice makes Thrawn. It's not his. Like, you gotta do that. To me, like, that would be very disappointing. That, that voice is not. If they do it, I'm just saying this is like a what if. Mm-hmm. We talked about it on the previous Tonight Show, but if they brought Azad Ventress live action, what would her demeanor be? Her voice should stay Nika Federman. Like it shouldn't change. Like, I'm sorry, it shouldn't change. But yeah, I think because we're not mentioned with Omega. So what happens with Omega? That's the biggest thing to going into like the Mandoverse and stuff like that. Like, where is Omega in that time? Is she dead? Is she held captive? Is she the clone that keeps on cloning? Is she locked up to like blood samples just keep getting taken from her? What is her story after the Bad Batch? Now, I don't know if you'll agree with me with this. Maybe an Omega animation series.
I mean, I wouldn't shoot it down.
Like, after the Bad Batch. Now just say Bad Batch all died. Just say that. I don't want them to happen, but just say they all died. Omega has to live on.
Yeah, her story can't end there.
Yeah, like, she has to live on. No other way to do an Omega show. And have her story all the way through whatever you want to tell. Because we don't know Omega's story. We really don't. We're still getting bits and pieces, and it's going to be episode 9. You know what I mean? It's like, who is really Omega? We really don't know. I don't know my daughter. I gave birth to her. I don't know her, my daughter, Like, who is she? She's a clone, okay. We only know she's a clone. She has a high M count. Her brother's name is Alpha, which is Boba. She can clone up to like how we age.
Yeah.
That's it. What is she?
I just also had a thought too. So if we go back to the Kenobi series, so that is about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So, or 9 years, I believe. 9, 10, whatever.
I think they said 15. I said 15. I don't know if that's correct.
I think Rebels is at that 15-year mark.
Oh, maybe Kenobi 10 years, probably 10 years.
And so if we look at Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr., the character he played, Colin Roken.
Yeah.
He tells Obi-Wan, like, my wife or like his significant other was, like one of them, being force sensitive. What if his character, why does his character, I mean, and I'm thinking of just a merchandise standpoint, why does he have a Funko Pop? Like, he has to be a significant character. Maybe he was married to Omega. Maybe he found Omega. Maybe Palpatine finally found Omega after all those years. That would be about 7 to 8 years of her hiding, maybe helping build the path with Quinlan and Asajj Ventress. and understanding that, like, yo, like they found her, took Omega from Roken. But at the same time, there is a Tala Durith Funko as well. But we know that she has a huge role in helping. Okay. She's like an Empire spy. She's like Hux before Hux, you know? So maybe she kind of joined late, you know, after working with the Empire and, you know, helping Quinlan. Like, dude, I feel like there has to be some sort of connections here because, I mean, Hasbro, Funko, and just Disney Star Wars itself, it's money, bro. Yeah, so much money. You know what I'm saying? Like, the biggest money maker, I got them tattooed on my right arm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's everywhere. Like, I look up right here, there's Grogu, you know, Legos right here, and all behind me, it's just plastic. But dude, like, it's money. So like, it could just be them, you know, like, oh, like this will sell. But I don't know, dude. I feel like those Funkos have just some presence, you know. It could be a reach. That's what's fun about this, is talking about the different scenarios and outcomes. But maybe Roken was married to Omega. Omega gets taken from Roken, and that's why he is just so against the Empire. What would he know about the Empire at that time? You know, I think that's just kind of a good on-spot thought there.
It is. I didn't even think of that, actually, because he did say she was force sensitive. You know, he did say that. So what do they need her for? You know, what would they need Roken's wife for? But going back to what you were saying, merchandising. Now, I'm pretty upset. They came out with the Acolyte toys. How dare you? How fucking dare you?
Did you post that on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I saw that.
How dare you come out with the Acolyte figures that the trailer just dropped yesterday, and you already made figures? But get this, the Bad Batch right here. Where's that? Where I can't point. The Bad Batch signal. It's over here. You came out with nothing for season 2 and also season 3. The only people that have dropped Bad Batch merch and Tales of the Jedi merch. Of course, you get T-shirts. Of course, Hot Topic T-shirts, stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. Is Gentle Giant with their mini busts. They dropped thumbs up. Say thumbs up. They dropped Echo, Wrecker, and Hunter. They're probably going to drop Tech soon. They're probably going to drop Omega in a bust and Crosshair in a bust soon. And then Tales of Jedi Yaddle. Yeah. Where is my Funko Pop of Cody? Where's my Funko Pop of Crosshair in his Empire armor? Where is going to be Asajj Ventress Funko Pop that we have no Funko Pops of Asajj Ventress?
It's crazy.
How? Quinlan Voss. How? You know, and they come out with the Acolyte. We dropped it, guys. We knew it was coming. But you have one of the best shows out that we don't know these characters from the Acolyte, from a can of paint. We don't know who they are. We don't know their stories. But you're going to drop a whole vintage collection line, a whole Black Series line. But you couldn't drop Black Series figures of Season 2 and Season 3 of the Bad Batch. Or Funko Pops. You don't even have to drop toys. You don't have to drop toys. Drop Funkos. Because that's what sells more. People want the Funkos more. I would want Bad Batch Funko Pops more than the toys.
Right.
Where is that? I was so mad. When I saw that I was working, I was like, what is this? Like, what are we doing here? Like, who are these characters that you're making toys out of? That people are going to buy. Of course, people are going to buy them because they're just collectors. They're not going to buy them because they know everybody's story in the Acolyte. No, you have to watch the Acolyte to understand their story. Or they're going to be books, or they're going to be something else, comic books. But we know the Bad Batch. We've been with the Bad Batch for years. But where is that merchandise that we want? I want a Cody Funko Pop. Yeah. I want
one that is not insanely expensive. I mean, I know you can find it from like anywhere from like $60 to $80, but I mean, there's some Cody's, you know, and it's the one of him holding the hologram of Palpatine, but it's just like, bro, you got to get at least like a common or like a fighting stance of, you know, Cody. Make it to where everyone can get them. But bro, like Asajj Ventress, if we don't get a Funko Pop of Asajj Ventress after Bad Batch Season 3, there has to be, you know, maybe another $2 or $3 million taken from Funko, bro. Like, it's just insane. Like Quinlan, I get, he's not so present, but I mean, at the same time, Asajj Ventress, even in Clone Wars, and that whole Clone Wars line of pops, and there's like 3-4 different Darth Mauls, but we can't get an Asajj Ventress.
And Asajj Opress one, and a Count Dooku one,
Yeah.
Well, we can't get Asajj. We can't get another Anakin one from season 7 of the Clone Wars. I know that's Revenge of the Sith Anakin, of course, but still. An Obi-Wan one. We have Ahsoka pops. We don't need more Ahsoka pops from season 7. Maybe Tales. What about Tales of the Jedi Funko Pops? Bring those out. Show us a young Qui-Gon. Show us the younger one and then the upper version. Show us another Dooku with that kind of hair and his lightsaber. Give us another Mace Windu pop. Give us Ahsoka's family. Give us a little baby Ahsoka riding the lion. A pop moment. Like, oh my God, look at her on the lion.
That'd be tight.
But you're giving us the Acolyte.
Yeah.
What in name's Jesus Christ Almighty are you people doing?
Yeah.
Like,
dude. Also, I'm a huge fan of of the color orange. Simply, like, I got an orange hat on. I'm a Denver Bronco fan. Like, all that stuff. But and Cody, I'm a huge Cody fan. He's orange. But what's weird to me is the season 2, when we got the trailer for Bad Batch for season 2, I was like, no way they have like hints of orange. And it's like that gray 2-tone. I'm like, dude, that is tough. And we didn't get a single pop last season. That's why I waited to get the 3 pops I mentioned earlier, because I was like, oh, if they come out with a season 2 line, I want that, orange with the gray. Don't even see that. And I'm kind of nervous after this season, but I feel like we are going to get Bad Batch season 3. I just feel like we have to, just because of, Asajj Ventress coming in. Maybe we can get a Chuchi. Like, how tight would that be?
That would be awesome. What about Commander Wolf?
There's so many characters. Could you imagine one of the assassin droids or assassin clones? Bro. That would be so tight.
Or even AZ. Throw AZ in there.
Yeah, or even give him kind of like a Cad Bane and Toto, like Crosshair and AZ just kind of like hovering behind him, like, dude, like,
yeah, or Batcher and Omega. Give us an Omega pop when she's shooting her bow or something.
Oh yeah, dude, that'd be tight.
Like, where are those? And that's why I think I said this to Gianni V. The episode will be out shortly, guys, for that my Star Wars interview with him, the Tonight Show. You put so much effort into live action, but where's the effort into animation that is going on right now? We're staying up to 3 a.m. Of course, we're going to stay up for 3 a.m., but the Acolyte doesn't come out at 3 a.m. It will come out 6 Pacific time and 9 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll have that. It will premiere right now in New Jersey. It'll premiere at 8 o'clock where you are, or you'll wait till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock my time to watch it because you're an hour ahead of me. You're giving us that, but you're not giving us what's out now.
Right.
Then you wait, we waited so long for another Captain Rex pop. You gave us a 2-pack, which we're not upset about, but you waited how many years to give us another Captain Rex? How many years for another Rebels line pop? Rebels line is coming out now. You just need Keenan out, a Chopper, a Zeb, and a Hera. Where's Agent Callus? Where are those pops? Where are the pops that, people are going to be like, oh, I would buy that. I would buy a whole Rebels collection. I love Rebels. I love animation. But you give us live action that lasts 2 seasons or a season. All right. And then you come out with more.
Right.
You come out with the Book of Boba Fett pops. For example, Book of Boba Fett was over, and then you gave us a whole line of Book of Boba Fett pops. But why?
That was the thing too. Even right here, of course I pulled it out for today's video for the breakdown, but this was a Walmart shelf warmer for months. My Walmart finally has no Fennec Shans in there. And there was 20 of them. And I got that Fennec Shan, the Book of Boba Fett one, for $12.99 retail at GameStop. I was like, dude, I need this one. And on the back of this one, it is her and Boba. So you're like, oh, this can't just be the two. You know, they got to come out with the Major Domo, maybe the Hutts, like a little movie moments of them. But dude, like those, like the first summer convention 2022, the Flocked Chrysanthemum, I was like, oh my god, like I called my GameStop and was like, hey, y'all gotta hold one for me because I'm cool with them. I'm like, y'all gotta hold one for me. And of course it didn't sell like crazy, but like those pops I appreciated. But then that second wave, like I got the Grogu just because he had the chainmail on. You could see that.
Oh, when he went like this.
Right. But then it's in the Cad Bane, of course, the Mando holding, you know, Grogu's chainmail in his hand. Like that is probably my most pointless pop. Like there's 4 million different Mandos. There's 4 million different Grogus. But at the same time, I like getting the Mandos that are tough, like Mando with the Darksaber that just came out for Mando 3. Like I gotta have those, but like the one holding the chainmail, it's just like, okay, like I got it because it was buy one get one half off. Like okay, but it's like you're giving us so many pops that it's like, yeah, we can appreciate like 2 out of the 12 like of the wave, but like, dude, if you guys just take a step back, just look at Twitter. Just look at Twitter for 2 hours. You're gonna know that people are gonna buy an Asajj Ventress Funko, and throw in like a second wave, and now you have Chuchi in there. Who's not buying a Chuchi Funko Pop? Just because it's like she's not a random character, but she's just like a side character meets a side character, but has so much weight to the story and to the political stance of Star Wars during that era. Like, of course you're throwing a Chuchi.
Even a Bail Organa pop. I don't think we ever had a Bail Organa pop.
There's not, you know, and it's just like, what is going on? We're missing. But we have 400 million Mandos, 400 million Grogus.
Vaders.
Yes.
Vaders. Like, we're done with Vader. Like, get over it. Like, he's an iconic villain. Get over it. Like, we don't need him like this. We don't need him like this. We don't need him like this. We got the pops. We understand what you're doing. You don't have to keep, like, with the Obi-Wan pops. We don't need a 2-pack of them. I like the one that it's half adding in half Vader. Of course. That's the best pop out of the whole line. But we don't need, like, Obi-Wan standing like this and then him holding his lightsaber like this. There's no difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no difference. Like with the Ahsoka one, yeah, well, I love Ahsoka. Animation Ahsoka, of course. They came out with the Target exclusive when she's like this, but that's her stance when she fights Maul. You know, and then you got the pop moment where, even with the pop moment, like they should have had like a background, like what they did with the Revenge of the Sith one with Obi-Wan on and versus Anakin. They should have did something.
The slanted platform.
Yeah, they should have did not the slanted platform, but they should have did something with the platform, you know,
right?
And have the Seeds of Mandalore background, and then jumping into air. Like that,
Bro.
like that art print that they had, they came out with Ahsoka jumping versus Maul, and they have their lightsabers ready to fight. Come on, let me be in charge of Funko.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a completely different scenery and responsibility going to work every day. But I mean, I feel like you can knock the pops out the park. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I got this list right here. You can say yes and no to whatever you want, but like, hey, these are some good candidates, and I think these are gonna get you some money. Because in the grand scheme of it all, that's what we do.
Yeah, and I think like and they're not making that, and I was so upset. Like, really, you're gonna drop Acolyte stuff, and we don't know who the hell these characters are, but you don't want to drop any Bad Batch merchandise. Like, I'm so disappointed with Hasbro, even Star Wars, because Star Wars does it too. Like
when I first saw it, I was thinking to myself, like what am I gonna do? Like it's so prevalent now. You know, we're gonna get, dude, Skeleton Crew. They have a whole Lego set of the ship that they've had that was supposed to drop at a January 1st drop, but then before that it was supposed to drop in August of 23, and it was supposed to come out January of 24. Now it's looking like it's coming out either in the October wave, unless the UCS October or the UCS fall drop doesn't happen. It looks like maybe a November slate for that ship. And it's like, unless you went to Celebration in London, you don't know what that ship looks like, like, and they have a whole $160 play scale of this Lego ship from Skeleton Crew that no one has any idea about, but it's been pushed back. And it's like, why are we making Legos of a show that got pushed back not only because of the strikes, but they apparently weren't done with the filming or something? Like, I can't remember.
Or like a show that we don't know nothing about Skeleton Crew. So why are you making merch? Because I guarantee you, no offense to anybody that is watching this, is going to be a big fan of Skeleton Crew. It's going to be a flop. Skeleton Crew looks to me like a big flop for Star Wars. Because we have nothing hurt. We just know Jude Law is a Jedi, and it's with kids. So far, to me, it's just like every other Star Wars show we get: a Jedi and kid, or a clone and kid. That's the sequence we get for Star Wars. It's a clone or a Jedi with a kid. We gotta protect the kid. Okay, let's protect him, and what's to come for the series.
A little lone wolf and cub action. I think Favreau obviously set the tone with The Mandalorian, and then you look at shows like The Last of Us, and Pedro Pascal might, all these girls and dudes even calling him daddy. Like, he's freaking pops right now, man. He's taking care of everyone's kids at this point in time. But like, it just seems like everyone's taking that route of the lone wolf and cub aspect. And of course it's gonna be a seller, because I mean, you got to see the protection aspect, you got to see the overall character building, the responsibilities, and then of course a struggle with a disadvantage. Like, of course it's cinema, it's movie, it's series, but it's like, hey, let's get into something new. Like, where's a Vader show at? Even though this isn't the time and place. An Inquisitor show. Like,
let's get a Cal Kestis show.
Like, let's hit. It starts obviously here. There's the High Republic, and then it goes all the way down to Rey's movies that are about to come out. That's the time zone we're working in. We're starting to tiptoe into other galaxies. Peredia. That's so tight, dude. Like, that was really cool. And then you get characters like Baylan and Shin, and why Peredia is calling to Baylan. They're going around different areas. Like, we love Anakin, we love Obi-Wan, but let's go out. Let's make this galaxy far, far away seem enormous, like never ending. Because when you just stick in the same zone all the times, your story kind of runs weird. Like, for instance, Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, but it's just all Hogwarts. It's just all at this one place. Imagine if they went back and, Harry, especially like when he meets the Dementors and has that struggle in the alley, like at the beginning of the 5th or 6th movie. But it's like, that's cool, but like, it all leads back to Hogwarts. And it's like, let's explore past. Let's explore why characters are this way. Like, Star Wars has that range where they can go to different spots, but it's like, keep going. Keep expanding.
Yeah, stop. It's a stop and go, and then we won't get that story for another 4 years. We won't, and let's be realistic. No one's getting younger. Actors are not getting younger. Voice actors are not getting younger. Let's tell these damn stories,
dude.
Let's give it to us. Because the fans want it, and you want it because you're writing them too. You want it to happen. It's like a what if series. Like, you want this to happen, so just give it to us.
Right.
Like, we know there's talks about different shows. We know there's talks about different characters. Give it to us, because you're saying the name in a meeting. You're saying the name in a board meeting. You're saying the name everywhere. And you're not giving it to us, though. You're leaving it on the table until 2040. Yeah. And at that time, who's going to want it in 2040? We're going to be excited that it happened in 2040, but we don't want it then.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think there's I mean, they're gonna make what they want to make. Some people didn't like Book of Boba Fett. I enjoyed Book of Boba Fett because it's Boba Fett, and I think he grew up a little bit and understood that this that lifestyle form as daimyo of Mos Espa wasn't for him. And I'm glad. I think that show would have been even worse if he didn't say that right at the end of the series. If he said, this isn't cut out for me. If he said, yeah, I'm going to continue this, or just didn't say anything at all, I'd be like, damn, I wanted this show to be great. But then when you look at that, you're like, oh, okay, this is obviously setting up for the Dave Filoni Mandoverse film, or we're going to touch back with Boba Fett. But it's looking like we're setting up Cobb Vanth is going to take over, which I'm voting for that. But it's, like give us those characters, let us grow and keep growing with those characters, because Tamora Morrison, as handsome and in shape as he is, he's only going to get older. If we want to keep the clone thing going, obviously we see him in Kenobi, which was awesome as a homeless clone. Like, hey, if we want more Boba Fett, we're gonna have to keep that going. If we want to flash back to Jango Fett, I mean, they can de-age. We see that with Anakin, Giancarlo Esposito and Better Call Saul. Like, this is really, really cool stuff. But we're human and we age quickly. So, I mean, let's knock him out the park, because that was part of the actor strike, wasn't it? With the CGI and the AI and all that. Like, you can't rely on that kind of technology, because that just beats the purpose. Like, does it work? Yes, but you don't need physical props anymore. It's all here.
And that's what I think Star Wars needs to get onto. Let's get it. Let's go.
Come on.
But Brandon, anything else you want to talk about before we leave this Tonight Show? Man,
I think we covered a lot of stuff, man. I think it was just ongoing rambling, but good rambling, just letting the it's like you're at a therapy session. You're just letting all the demons out.
You're welcome. I'm your therapist. Now pay me the money, Brandon. But before we go, Brandon, where can everybody find you on the social medias?
Man, obviously all right here, Clan Brandolorian. I like to cover everything within Star Wars lore, theory, Funko, and Lego. I got quite the collection behind me, so I spent a lot of money on it, and a lot of them gifted, so I would like to at least make some sort of content out of them. But yeah, I'm a huge theorist, if you haven't noticed that, of this interview here. I like to think things are going to happen, and usually they don't come out true, but that's what makes it so fun. And you get to meet, new people and talk Star Wars. It's awesome. It's probably one of the better things on this content creating journey. But we do also have Clan Brandolorian, the podcast, and like to have a lot of guests on there and talk Star Wars, whatever's trending during the week, ranking films, series, movies, all of that. So yeah, if you're into lore, theory, Funko, and Lego, go subscribe to Clan Brandolorian.
There you go. That was well said. As a Mandalorian, that was well said. I'm proud of you. But I will put all the links in the bio, guys, to go follow Brandon. Brandon, I have to thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. I always love talking Star Wars with people. I love getting different aspects, who's on board, what's to talk about. So thank you so much for coming on the show and being awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, bro. I appreciate it. This was it seemed like a last second effort getting in contact and stuff. So I was like, man, let's get this going.
But guys, thank you for watching our special guest, Brandolorian, on the Scevoli Tonight Show. Thank you. I will put all the links in the bio to follow him. Go check him out. He's an amazing content creator of Star Wars, and he deserves to be loved. That's it. But thank you guys for joining me. Be kind to one another. Make sure you guys subscribe down below to the YouTube channel, The Scevoli Tano Show, for more awesomeness. Be kind to one another, and may the Force be with you, my friends. Always. Bye!
In my life, when you find people who need your help, you help them. No matter what.